Kurt, I don't know if you know about this, but there's a new Speaker of the House.
Yeah, Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
You know, you could actually take the name.
Go ahead.
If they ever wanted to stop using John Doe as a name for
unidentified
corpses, Mike Johnson works just as well. It's just such a nothing name. Guy comes out of nowhere. That's amazing. All that fight about McCarthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they wanted maybe Jim Jordan and all that. We're not putting money to Ukraine and all that yappity yip. And in the end, it's some guy never heard of who, let me guess, he's going to fund Ukraine as well as Israel?
Well, I don't know about that. We'll have to see. He's been we'll go with that. We have a couple sections. But before we get to that, before we get to the serious stuff, let's get to the BS. How do you think he would be portrayed by the liberal media, right? The left-wing liberal media.
Well, he's like a Bobby Jindal conservative, right? Remember Bobby Jindal?
Yeah, I don't think it was. But those classifications are no longer here. They're either.
I just mean whatever brand of evangelical Christian abortion is it. I love the fact. I don't care about him either way. But
okay, but here's the thing: if he's not a establishment candidate, he's either far right or far left.
Do you think he's not an establishment candidate?
I think he has establishment views, but for the most part, he does go out a little bit on a limb and kind of talk out. He has talked out against censorship. He has classified censorship for just one side, but let's look at how they're going to classify him, because this is what they're going to do. Once again, since he's a MAGA one or whatever, or he's something that everybody agreed upon on the Republican side, as House Speaker, Mike Johnson is as dangerous as Jim Jordan. I didn't know that Jim Jordan was dangerous.
Wait, Jim Jordan was more dangerous than McCarthy, who was the most dangerous, and we couldn't force the vote because McCarthy might become speaker, which, as you know, would have been the seventh seal of the end times.
Which would have never happened anyways. It wasn't happening. They had the majority. They just had to pick somebody else other than that. It's not like those people would have voted for McCarthy.
No, McCarthy could have become speaker.
Yeah. He wouldn't
and then
have been.
He did, and nobody... He
was when they won the House over it, at that time, he wouldn't have become the speaker. They were just conflating the issue and muddying the waters. New House Speaker blames school shootings on teaching evolution and abortion. So you can see Rolling Stone, they're going out there smearing. New Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, once wrote in support of the criminalization of gay sex. I love this one. Jeffries calls Mike Johnson an extreme right-wing ideologue.
Hakeem Jeffries?
Hakeem Jeffries.
I feel, okay.
Yeah.
All my instinct is, they always are complete liars and whenever they say that. But I always feel, in the end, as if I'm being tricked to defend the guy, and then it's a good old switcheroony, like how in England they loved Boris Johnson because he wanted Brexit, and it was really a switcheroo, and he was just some jerk off, and they all, hey, Boris Johnson, I like his stupid Chris Farley hair, and then it turned out it was just like you're being shepherded into that. I always first think it's that now.
Yeah. Well, let me say this much: there's always been the whole kabuki theatrics that it's the Republicans versus the Democrats, right? I mean,
that's why I feel like this is going to be that.
They do that all the time, but now we're at a level where it's so demonizing that the other people are far right, MAGA Republicans, radical left, woke left.
Nothing is radical here. This is the lamest, slow ass country on the planet in terms of knowing anything about anything. No one is for anything because nobody reads that much.
Well, radical nowadays means you can actually compromise, that you'll have populist views that a lot of the people in the country will like. You know what I'm saying? In this case, Mike Johnson was for freedom of speech, like a lot of old school lefties were, right? You know what I'm saying? He does classify it to just conservatives only, which is my issue because it's anti-establishment voices, especially anti-imperialist voices who speak out against our foreign policy, because that's where most people don't pay attention to.
So who does he want to censor? I don't understand.
He doesn't want to censor anybody. He talked out, and we're going to get to it, against Mayorkas. Mayorkas, who wants to censor everybody, who hired Nina Jankowicz for the information.
Is Mike Johnson doing you got to be censored because you said something about Israel?
No.
That's shocking.
We're not there yet.
Okay, all right.
We're not there yet, and maybe he has. I haven't come across that. I've looked through Mike Johnson and stuff.
I apologize.
The thing is, he hit the scene. He was known because he questioned Mayorkas on what's going on. Anyways, they're going to massively censor him, massively smear him, because that's what they do. And it's very, very, right nowadays, it's so intense where our Congress, our government, The right wing is so against the left wing in America. You know what I'm saying? They're just awful. The problem is here, AOC, it's Republicans this, MAGA Republicans from Jeffries. These guys are crazy. And the right, they're the woke left. They want to destroy America. Cultural Marxism, all that stuff.
Right.
And then the media does the same thing, right?
Well, thank God they all support Israel unconditionally.
Okay, the media does the same thing, right? Fox, oh my God, the woke left, these guys are terrible. They're transitioning whatever they do, the same thing. And they're doing this in hopes that our citizens follow suit. That we continue to blame each other.
Helpful protest bricks left in the street for us. Yes.
We continue to fight one another. We continue to yell at each other instead of look at the ruling class. That's what's going on. That's what this is all about.
I want them to like me.
But it's all intensified, Kurt, now. It's up to the most degree when it comes to this shit.
You're a conspiracy theorist.
Here's the reason why this guy got on everybody's radar, okay? This is what happens when he had a chance and it was in a committee.
Okay, but will he be on my gaydar? That's what I'm watching for. Go ahead.
Secretary Mayorkas, we have the frustrating responsibility on this committee of providing oversight of your agency, but I have to be honest and tell you, I'm not sure exactly what you do at the Department of Homeland Security other than great harm. On your watch, the data is pretty clear. We've had record levels of illegal immigration, a rapid decline in deportations, skyrocketing fentanyl deaths across our country.
Ooh.
That's, of course, that's for his
Harry
conservative.
Potter throwing out some
that's his red meat, the red meat for the conservative base, right? All right. So we know.
Mr. Potter throwing out the Patronums.
There you go. You got to get it
The
out
Secret
there.
Service, which is a DHS component, can't determine who left cocaine at the White House. In the middle of all this, you created the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, CISA, which is a division of DHS. And it's one of the Biden administration agencies that colluded with and coerced the social media companies to censor Americans' protected free speech online. That's specifically detailed in a 155-page court opinion that came out of the federal court in Louisiana in the landmark litigation of Missouri v. Biden. Have you read that court opinion?
Congressman, I have not, and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency does not censor speech.
Okay, well, that's the court found otherwise, and it's really curious to me. Actually, it's quite alarming that you haven't read the opinion, because your agency is listed in this opinion. The federal court looked at volumes of evidence over months of litigation, and they determined, among other things, that if the allegations made by the plaintiffs, the states in this case, are true, and hold on, the preliminary injunction was granted against your agency, sir, and other Biden administration agencies, including the DOJ and FBI, the court said it involves the most massive attack against free speech in United States history. And you're telling me this opinion issued July 4th has not reached your desk? No one's briefed you on it?
Oh, I have been briefed on the Missouri litigation.
Okay, but you haven't taken the time to read it yet.
Congressman.
No, hold on. Have you read it or not?
I have read parts of it, Congressman.
Oh, parts of it. Did you read the parts where it said?
That's what you said in school, right? Did you read it? Parts of it.
I skimmed it.
It's just a no.
So this is like when the Kyle Rittenhouse thing happened and people that thought every wrong thing about it.
They only read parts of it.
All I did was watch the video of what happened. It wasn't a mystery. You could see the whole thing for hours, the whole night of exactly what happened.
And then you agreed it was white supremacy, right? Yeah.
Did you watch this video? They go, I watched the trial. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
No. And this is so interesting with Secretary Mayorkas from DHS. I mean, he just tries to lie about this thing the whole time.
You know how much
we
I
don't
hate
censor.
him?
Wait until it gets better, because he starts. What is he going to do? What do they always do? We're doing this because we're keeping an eye on foreign adversaries. This is what Snowden showed us when they said that they were using the Patriot Act to spy on us. They were supposed to be using it to spy on China and Russia to make sure there was no foreign influence coming in, or they were trying to find a gateway in. They were spying on us. So it's just like when they use hate speech.
That's because you're considered a foreigner to.
Well, when they use the term hate speech, it's to censor speech they don't like.
There's you don't say. I thought it was a legitimate concept.
Some people. Sounds good.
I thought it was a real concept.
And dystopian, and that your agency is involved in a massive cover-up of specifically conservatives' free speech online?
Congressman, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is not involved in such conduct.
Okay, well, the court found otherwise, and you stand here under oath and you give us these answers that we know were not true, because this is demonstrably untrue. I'm suggesting to you that you're saying things to us under oath that are proven by the record to be untrue. Let me ask you about this specifically. CISA was created to, we call it the Misinformation and Disinformation Subcommittee of CISA. Are you familiar with that?
Congressman,
MDM, the MDM subcommittee, you're familiar with that?
Congressman, I am very well aware of the threat of disinformation emanating from adverse nations.
Are you familiar with the subcommittee? Just answer the question.
I am.
Okay. Does it still exist?
Congressman, are you speaking of the...
Does the MDM subcommittee still exist?
I would have to get back to you on that.
What?
What?
All right. Kind of a big deal in your agency.
It's your own agency. You don't know if the subcommittee still exists.
Oh,
and
well,
stuff.
hey, Harry
Yeah.
Potter is killing it with this Death Eater over here.
Well, really, to tell you the truth, the thing that just drives me crazy is this kind of stuff actually works for the confirmation bias people out there. Well, no, Mayorkas was telling them they don't do this.
Yes,
Right.
I
Right.
say it's
For
to
the
Jimmy.
team sports aspect, it will
Right.
work. This will be
Okay.
enough because people nowadays.
Yes. I say this to Jimmy every time we'd play these things. Ooh, you sick burn.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen.
Zero.
I'm still going to be at the airport waiting in line and take
Yeah.
my goddamn shoes off. I'm going to look at this jag-off Mayorkas with it. He looks like a guy.
I know he's everywhere now too, right? You see him at every single airport with the videos now.
Yeah, he looks like
Secretary Mayorkas.
he looks like a guy it's his day off from doing drag.
Yeah,
He looks like he's out of drag.
and that's
And I probably like him better in full drag. And he's got the face. I didn't make this up. Dub Davidoff comic had a joke. He's got the face that looks like he just smelled cookies all the time.
Let's play the rest of this. You guys have the same haircut though.
I'm shocked that you don't know the answer to that.
Shut up.
Can you define what misinformation is?
Congressman, misinformation is false information that is disseminated.
This is great right here.
To
Excellent. Who determines what is false?
Congressman, our focus.
No, who determines what is false in your agency? If you're going to pull something off the internet and collude with a social media platform to make sure Americans don't see it, who determines what's false?
Congressman, we don't do that.
That's not true. That is not true. That is not what the court has found. This is not a Republican talking point. This is what the documents show. We've had people testify under oath that say, and you just defined the term, you're telling me that you don't know who determines what is false?
Congressman, what we do at CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is identify the tactics that adverse nation states use to weaponize disinformation.
Okay, what is disinformation? What is disinformation?
Disinformation is inaccurate information.
Hit him
Who
again.
determines what's inaccurate? Who determines what's false? Do you understand the problem here? The reason the framers of our Constitution did not create an exception for quote unquote false information from the First Amendment is because they didn't trust the government to determine what it is. And you have whole committees of people in your agency trying to determine what they define as false or misinformation.
That is not true.
Well, then what is true?
What we
Please
do
enlighten us.
is what we do is we disclose the tactics that adverse nation states are utilizing to weaponize
No, sir.
disinformation.
No, sir. The court found specifically, it's a finding of fact that is not disputed
is
by the
great.
government defendants. The Biden administration, your agency, the FBI, or DHS, not in the litigation. They determined you and all of your cohorts made no distinction between domestic speech and foreign speech. So don't stand there and tell me under oath that you only focused on adverse, adversaries around the world, foreign actors. That's not true.
Congressman, the Missouri case, the litigation to which you refer, is the subject of continuing litigation.
But the facts were not disputed. And I so regret that I'm out of time. I hope I get some more
Mike
yield.
Johnson's coming for your wig, bitch.
Woo. Well, first
He's
of all,
coming for your wig.
okay, so they'll always use adverse nations as an excuse to do this. We have to protect you from other countries that are trying to slip in information that's going to be bad for you, right? And we've said this from the get-go. It's not the government's job to decide what is true and
That's
what's
right.
false.
That's my
for
pastor's
us.
job.
Exactly. Your pastor has a better right to do it than us, but that's for the people to decide, right? You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And then, the lying part, it just drives me crazy. We don't do that over here. The best question in this whole thing is, who makes that decision? Who decides what is true and
you
what's
don't
false?
do it. Well, pray tell, who does tell you?
Exactly.
Who is it?
Well, I would have liked them to say, well, we have a set of circumstances in which we can look at, which will determine what is information or
I hate his
disinformation.
face.
Well, who makes those up? They want to know who makes that up
He's
because
like, we're in litigation. I hate him so much.
it stands against everything this country was built upon. That was the number one thing: freedom of speech. We're allowed to say what we want, no matter how we feel,
I
when
thought
we
you meant
want.
ley lines.
Let's watch this last clip of Mayorkas. We got some more of him. It's pretty awesome.
It's outrageous. At your oath of office ceremony on February 2, 2021, you said, quote, the mission of the Department of Homeland Security is to safeguard the American people, our homeland, and our values. On the website of DHS, it describes the mission. It says the Department of Homeland Security secures the nation's air, land, and sea borders to prevent illegal activity and is focused on securing our borders and keeping our communities safe.
You know, the thing that really drives me crazy, Kurt, is that the other side now, the left, the people who would consider themselves the Democratic Party people, whatever, and stuff like that, they don't see the nuance in this whole situation that once you have these guards in place, these safeguards and stuff, once the other side gets it, they're going to use it against you. Well, Jimmy did a story with the whole, you know, horror people and then also the people from Cop City. It's like, why do you keep praising this on and playing team sports because you think they're bad, you shut them up. They're going to use it against you. Go ahead.
They don't even understand that the homeland is NATO.
Yeah.
The homeland's not America.
No.
The homeland is NATO and NATO allies such as Ukraine. And so that's really, I realize now, getting canceled is like you're being deported within your own country.
Yeah.
It's a deportation to Deplorableville.
It's crazy. It goes once, and it's like when you have an altruistic king. Once he dies, who gets the reins next? You got to be careful with all these things that you cheer on as far as safeguards or laws or different committees or different entities that are out there to protect speech. Words are violent. It's going to come back and affect you.
That's not my problem. I'm just a lawyer who never practiced law, but I got into government and used my law degree to figure out how to get around laws that are supposed to protect everyone for the benefit of my. And that's why
the whole Congress?
I joined. You ever see Tom Cruise in The Firm?
Yeah.
I'm that kind of lawyer. That's how the goddamn government works.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's funny. Like, I'll bet there's a bunch of great FBI agents, a bunch of great CIA agent. I'll bet there's a bunch of great, and they're almost the blue collar dumbass working stiffs of the group. And all the people on top are people that have law degrees from Ivy League schools, not to practice law, but to figure out ways to get around the law for the scumbag corporate oligarchs that run things. So that's what it boils down to, dude.
Somebody had said that that's something that Barack Obama opened the door open to, was
that's
finding
way before him.
But no, that he intensified trying to find ways with using lawyers to get around the laws in place. In other words, he used his lawyers to figure out ways to get around laws instead of actually, finding a way to stay within the laws.
He still became,
how to break the law and get away with it.
You mean like how he still became president after being born in Kenya? I'm kidding. Come on.
That one. Or the one where he bombed a 16-year-old kid at a wedding. That whole thing.
I didn't care about. Do you know when that happened? I didn't care about it at all.
Nobody did.
I was like,
because they looked at him as a jihadist Muslim.
Why are you going to talk to your terrorist dad? And I said, citizenship revoked, mother effer. That's how I felt.
Why do you think? How do you think they've been able to get away with this whole thing in Gaza for so many years?
I'll tell you why. Because I, like most morons, did not understand, as thing Jimmy says, and he's right.
Yes.
What your government will do to other people or citizens in other countries.
Yes.
Of your own country, they'll do that shit to you.
Yes.
And so
that is something that nobody ever realizes, that the behavior we use abroad will eventually be brought home to be used on its own citizens.
The speech that we try to suppress here is going to be brought back on
us. Exactly.
That's exactly right.
It's always going to. That's why I'm saying you got to be nuanced about these situations. So if you're a leftist who was cheering on the censorship when AOC goes, deplatforming does work, well, guess what? It's going to come back and bite you right in the ass if it hasn't already done so.
Works is pretty vague. It works to do what, AOC?
Let's finish this. It works to keep us safe from violent words.
But does it bring safer sunscreen to our country as AOC wants? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Well, let's actually, I'm going to play this 1 second. Let me get this down.
This is outrageous. At your oath of office ceremony on February 2, 2021, you said, quote, the mission of the Department of Homeland Security is to safeguard the American people, our homeland, and our values. On the website of DHS, it describes the mission. It says the Department of Homeland Security secures the nation's air, land, and sea borders to prevent illegal activity and is focused on securing our borders and keeping our communities safe. Sir, you're the 7th Secretary of Homeland Security in charge of the 3rd largest federal department in the United States and the largest immigration system in the world. You were given immense power and an absolutely critical responsibility. Of all of our federal agencies, sir, I think yours is the one that has the smallest margin of error. Because if the Secretary of Homeland Security is unable or unwilling to give these answers, to perform his duties and accomplish his mission, crime surges, chaos ensues, and innocent people die. And Mr. Mayorkas, that is exactly what is happening on your watch. All of us have been down to the border. We've seen this with our own eyes, and we are outraged. And so are our constituents and all law-abiding citizens in this country. They're outraged because of your deliberate and defiant policies. These are the documented facts. We have a literal invasion of lawless masses flooding over our border from more than 160 countries.
There's that conservative
the
side.
Safety and security of the American people are being directly threatened, and innocent children, sir, are being abducted, assaulted, raped, and murdered by human traffickers. Countless numbers of known terrorists and vicious gang members are clearly coming across our border and making their way into our communities
Funded by us.
all over the country. The precious treasure of American taxpayers is being used to incentivize and reward all this because illegals are given food, clothing, health care, cell phones, welfare benefits, and we also, the taxpayers, pay for ghost flights and bus tickets so they can send them around and secretly transfer these folks into all of our communities across the country. It is your policies, and because of them, that our entire country is becoming a crime scene. And we are dealing with a humanitarian disaster that would have been unimaginable just 3 or 4 years ago. Because of your policies, the drug cartels are making billions of dollars and building their empires, and they are drowning our streets in fentanyl and other deadly substances, and that has made drug overdoses, as you know now, the #1 cause of death for Americans ages 18 to 45. Our brave Border Patrol and law enforcement agencies and officers are completely overwhelmed, and they are personally endangered. And the rule of law is being trampled underfoot. And the stability and the very sovereignty of our nation is being threatened like never before.
I mean, he got more time to make sure that he let everybody know he was definitely a conservative, a Republican.
Yeah,
and putting out all those team sport issues.
How come all these illegal immigrant kids get trafficked? And I'm a citizen. I spent my whole childhood a virgin.
Yeah. Funny, Kurt. But I mean, he had to throw all this stuff in there to make sure that he played his rah-rah team sports mentality. And I think a lot of people have to understand, because the thing he's even talking about when it comes to freedom of speech or it comes to, non-censorship or censoring of people is that he still kind of only points the finger that conservatives are getting censored when a lot of us leftists who are anti-imperialist, you know what I'm saying, we got censored just as hard or just as well. And that scares me, because when it comes to the big issue, which we'll get to, Israel, we'll see where he's at.
Wait a minute. Are you saying illegal immigrant kids are just taking the jobs American kids don't want? Because
yeah, I know. They want to pick fruit and clean the
I don't want to be a virgin nerd.
Do the pools and everything. But I mean, that's the thing that this whole thing to act like it's just the Biden administration's problem.
Yeah, well, what did I say? What did I tell you?
Kurt, how long have those problems been going on that he talked about there for quite some time? The border issue.
I can't wait for us to have a war with China and the flood of Chinese kids coming over. And, look, the guy sounds great.
Yeah.
Trashing this idiot Mayorkas.
He sound great trashing him with censorship. I wish he would have stayed there instead of going on this.
But the bottom line is, Stephen Colbert used to be great on Strangers with Candy. He's an actor.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you put the right words in his mouth, he'll deliver them beautifully. When he goes on his own show, he just spews nonsense that they put in his empty head. So I don't know if this guy is just an actor. My guess is probably yes, because why would he even get the job of speaker?
Well, we have to talk about that too as well, because it wasn't just the fact that he was the right guy for the job. It's that they went through this whole process and they were desperate to quickly get a speaker. At one point, people must have just said, all right, listen, who's next? Mike Johnson? Good, I'll take him. I don't want to go through this again. We went through this whole thing with McCarthy. I'm not about to do it again. So timing when it came to Mike Johnson was very important. They were beat up there. There were so many people were beat up, and the Republicans were starting to look like this is going to make us look really, really bad. You know what I'm saying? And how are we going to fund Israel if we don't get a speaker?
Well, that's you took the words out of my mouth.
I know.
I have a long list of questions I was anxious to ask you today, but I've been watching you. You've been on Capitol Hill for 3 days now. You've been in 3 committees. You're very, you have an extraordinary talent, I think, for evading questions, and you've provided answers that are not.
They all have a great talent for that.
You're insulting the intelligence of the American people, and you're subjecting them to extraordinary danger. This is not a game. It's been detailed over and over this week, and here again today. You have presided over the greatest immigration catastrophe in American history, and it's an objective truth that you have helped design and implement this system. You took your oath of office in February last year, and by the end of the first year, ICE recorded the highest number of border crossings and the lowest number of deportations in history. Fact. You have stated publicly in direct defiance of our laws that, quote, being here illegally by itself is not enough to be removed, unquote. If DHS does not deport illegals, that is, apprehend and quickly remove people who cross into our country illegally, then we have no border security at all. We all know that after Title 42 is repealed, 18,000 immigrants a day are going to result coming over that border. It's going to be a total collapse of operational control.
Wow, the border seems like a very important issue to him. So
look, I'll settle pasta. Hey, never mind deportations. I know that. I'll settle for just knowing who the hell is coming in and where they go. Because I'm tracked everywhere I go as a citizen.
Well, most of them, they don't have a lot of
all the people rushing in.
Well, they don't have the proper ID and whatnot. And I hear you. Like, if that's a concern of yours, that's cool.
Well, it's just amazing to have, like, if they don't know who the hell's coming in, that's because they don't want to know. If they're collecting all your info,
they don't want to know. You know why? Because the same people who are funding him, all right, who the donor class that fund all the conservatives also benefit the most off that cheap labor, because we don't know who they are. They are just immigrants from another country, and we can exploit them for their labor. And it's exploited by everybody who funds those same assholes who are complaining about it.
Yeah,
if you're really mad about it, get mad at your bosses who are giving you money, who are exploiting that workforce.
No, I don't think I will.
Because that's what it is mostly. They want to exploit that workforce. That's why they're coming over right now, because they need a lot more workforce right now.
The job creators?
Yes. The job creators. Finish this up.
If people are allowed to simply walk in here and live and work and collect taxpayer-funded benefits and assistance for years upon years and maybe permanently, then in a very short period of time, we'll be totally overwhelmed. We'll be crushed by the sheer numbers and the weight of illegal immigration, and there will no longer be any border, any security here, any sovereignty at all. We won't have a country. I called for your resignation in July of last year and explained then that it had already become crystal clear that you were either unable or unwilling to do your job. But as has been said here today now, based upon the facts and the evidence, we've concluded you're doing this intentionally. It is despicable. I believe these are impeachable offenses. And Mr. Secretary, my advice to you is to begin your search for a different career field very soon, because there will be an election and the American people will let their voices be heard on this, and we will be taking the majority. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter from 133 members of Congress to the Secretary expressing our concern that his actions in opening our border and inaction in enforcing our laws are endangering American lives.
Okay, hold on.
Congressman Mike Johnson.
Wait. How long ago was that?
About 3 months ago, I believe.
You really think something's going to happen?
It was longer than that.
I mean, nothing's going to happen. It's just like watching Fauci get grilled by Rand Paul.
No, they all do that. It's all theater.
Hey, it's a lot of fun. Nothing's going to happen.
No. Well, what he's saying is when they win the election or when they get control of the House, which they have now, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Hey, come see us doing a live stand-up show in Bloomington, Illinois, Indianapolis, Levittown, New York, Red Bank, New Jersey, Wilmington, Delaware, Covina, California, Burbank, California, Oxnard, California, Venice, California, and Palmdale, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.